Wait, remember Pickle and Peanut? No, I'm not talking about the food. No, I am not getting the title Apple and Onion wrong. I already did a video on that one. I am talking about the Disney XD series Pickle and Peanut. While this wasn't a long-lived series from the mid-2010s, Pickle and Peanut ended up with quite the amount of episodes that follow two best friends that also work together as they get into various shenanigans throughout the series. Utilizing all of these different forms of animation, the show feels right at home in being in conversations that can compare the style and look to other shows like Gumball, Mad on Cartoon Network, Smiling Friends if you want something more recent as a reference, or even something like Fish Hooks, which makes sense because both that show and this one were created by Noah Z. Jones. Are there more examples that I could give? Sure, but I think you get what I'm saying here. When it comes to Pickle and Peanut, I never really ended up giving the show a chance when it came out, but that was mostly based on never catching it when it was on, or ever really hearing much about it until much later. And everything I did hear about it, well, it wasn't so great. Today, however, we are going to take a look back at Pickle and Peanut since it just passed its 10th anniversary since it premiered. And we're gonna see what the series was all about, what kind of vibe it ends up bringing to the function through its writing and visuals, as well as see how this series was really perceived in the end. Get your snacks ready. Now, I have been warned by so many people that this series is, well, it could break me. It's just Disney's regular show. It's just Disney being random XD. Huh, well, at least Disney named that channel right? Stupid jokes aside, or maybe they're right at home with this series, Pickle and Peanut seems like the combination of general creative ideas and random humor. Now, before you come at me for saying Pickle and Peanut as well as creative ideas in the same sentence, what I mainly mean by that is the art direction, or really the mixing and mashing of styles and formats, do at least leave you with a visually interesting show at the end of the day if you're not into anything else that the show offers. But what does the show offer? Are there some really great qualities to Pickle and Peanut from watching more of the series? Is there more to it all than just the surface level randomness and the occasional gross out humor? Is this series unhinged, or is it unfunny? I decided to subject myself to the series that has been on my list for a long time now to cover and see if I could understand either if what people were saying about the series was true and it's something you should stay away from, or was there something that people missed and maybe, just maybe, Pickle and Peanut isn't such a bad show after all. Yes! Alright, so we have a show about a pickle and a peanut who are friends that work together and also get into some interesting situations throughout the runtime of each episode. There's nothing particularly planned out, it seems, or at least that's the vibe that you'll get, with the series going for the random humor angle, going from one thing to another with constant stuff just happening. And honestly, that's the best way I can truly try and describe it for you. Narratively, sure, there is a base plot or premise to what we see in the episodes, but everything around that feels as spontaneous as someone just making things up as they go along. Pickle and Peanut, personality-wise, don't really feel like there's a whole lot there, just some standard tropes like Pickle being this more socially awkward, not-so-smart tall character, while Peanut fits more into the wanting to be more popular than he is type of mold, as well as he may believe that he's smarter than he actually is, or has a chance with all the ladies he tries to talk to. Other than that, it's not like there's too much more depth to discover with these two characters, at least in the show that is. What I mean by that is who's voicing them, as both main characters are voiced by Johns, with John Heder, aka Napoleon Dynamite, voicing Pickle, and Johnny Pemberton voicing Peanut. They both end up fitting the voices extremely well, and I can easily picture both of these actors as these characters. So it's a if you know type of situation when it comes to finding something deeper here to take away. Now, despite the reputation the show has had, being called potentially the worst thing Disney has put out, at least when it comes to cartoons on their channel, the series would end up running for a total of 42 episodes, or 82 segments, across 2 seasons, coming to a close by the start of 2018, which, hey, that's not too bad of a run if you ask me. Oh, you didn't ask me?
No.
Then what the heck do you want?
I want to know how I can get 10% off my Gamer Subs order.
That I can help you with. You ever wake up one day and wonder, what does Moist Critical, aka Charlie, aka Penguin Zero's goof juice taste like? Well, I'll tell you, it tastes pretty good. But if you want to find out for yourself, as well as any of the other flavors that are out there in the Gamer Subs collection, if you use the link down below or my special code at checkout, code FRINGE, you will get 10% off your order every time you order. It's sugar-free, it's less than a calorie per serving, and you bet your sweet bippy that it's keto friendly.
What's a bippy?
No, that's Blippy. Do not look up Blippy video. Do not do that. I gotta cut that out. Not only do you get your savings on every order every time you order, but you're also going to be directly supporting the channel. By supporting GamerSupps, you are supporting me, so thank you very much to all of you who do use my code. Once again, what is that code? Code Fringe. But head over to GamerSupps, check out all of the new stuff they are constantly dropping every single week, all the new sales, all the new items, lots of awesome stuff, new flavors, so many cool things. Get yourself a little treat, code Fringe for 10% off. Now, if only GamerSupps would make a flavor that was the combination of, I don't know, like a pickle and a peanut. Oh wait, that's what we're talking about right now. So how did we end up with the series being the way it is? With it feeling something so different from what you'd expect to see from Disney, especially at that time 10 years ago. Was Disney wanting to find their own version of shows that have found success on other networks? Like, is this just going to be boiled down to a clone or somewhat of a clone of regular show at its base core level? Well, in an interview from 2015 with the site Bubble Blabber, series creator Noah Z. Jones and executive producer Joel Tressel get to discuss the series at a time where it was only about halfway through the first season coming out on Disney XD. And yeah, it's pretty clear that nothing was taken serious here in the interview, and it at least feels on brand for it being about Pickle and Peanut. To be fair, the interview starts out normal enough, with Noah and Joel both giving some real enough answers to the questions being asked. How did you guys come up with the concept for Pickle and Peanut? With Noah responding, we knew we wanted to do something different, but still hold our heads high every day we go into work. As Joel followed up by saying, we knew the reaction would get different responses when you think of Disney. Most have an idea of what that world is, and I had an idea of what that is. So we decided to make a thing we enjoy working on, whether or not the network liked it. And we got lucky that they've been generous and let us kind of do our own thing. The next question, or rather statement from the interviewer was, Pickle and Peanut doesn't feel like a show that would have a Disney tag on it. And I think that's my favorite thing about it. The show could just as easily be on Adult Swim. Joel mentioned that we didn't mind making a little stink to put people on their toes, including the execs. It's nice to try a few things out, with Noah adding, we're like modern day Picassos. I'm a Picasso with a nasally voice. From this point on is where the answers get less and less serious. When asked about the inspiration behind the series, here's the back and forth they had. Noah said, we both kind of dabbled in stuff and went on dream quests in the Mojave Desert, and we visited a shaman that we give a lot of money to. He guided us and made us strip down naked in the middle of the desert. Joel added on, at first it's humiliating, but we started to conceptualize a pickle and peanut from the shadow silhouettes, with Noah finishing by saying, we just want to be clear, the show is not about skin bags. That was pointed out to us in development, but we just like alliteration. All BSing aside, we wanted to make a simple lo-fi show that's kind of dumb. From there, this is how the interview for the most part goes. As you can see from all of these answers to all of the questions, clearly there is this air of no nonsense on opposite day, because no matter what was asked, there were some silly, ridiculous, or downright confusing answers given in return from these two, and you know what? They really embodied the characters of Pickle and Peanut, so it makes sense how the show became what it was. These two were the ones who were forming the ideas of what was going on with the series, after all. You could just tell that it truly is them, and it all kind of makes sense to me after reading that interview. And if you really wanted an answer as to why the show is the way it is, why does it feel random for the sake of being random? Why does it feel like something so different from what else Disney would usually make? Well, after their fake or real hallucinogenic trip out in Joshua Tree in the Mojave Desert, like that one episode of Entourage, whether anything they are saying is actually true or not about that, they both wanted to make something that, in their own words, was simple and dumb. Clearly, Disney had some sort of faith in this concept, maybe at least in having worked with Noah before on both Fish Hooks and the 7D. But whatever the case may be, Pickle and Peanut would end up becoming a series that some regard as the worst thing Disney has put out. But both Noah and Joel seem to be pretty self-aware about that. So much so that when season 2 was premiering, they together held an AMA, or Ask Me Anything, on Reddit with the title, We Created Disney's Most Hated Television Show. While there are some legitimate responses here, their answers would skew more into joking around territory. Like when someone asked how they pitched the show to Disney in the first place, they responded with, we actually didn't pitch. We got on Craigslist and hired a freelance druid to cast a desire spell on the Disney brass. Best $65 we ever spent. The more you look into into the making of the series and read more about what the creators of it do and say in interviews, it's just very clear to me that this was mainly two creative people wanting to make something with low effort and little budget, almost like a challenge to themselves to see what they could possibly do. Again, words like low effort or small budgets all come from both Noah and Joel, so in saying that, maybe take anything that they say with a grain of salt. Who knows when these goofballs are even saying something or really just saying nothing because it's funny to them to be that way. It's almost like their friendship is similar to ones that you've probably had or do have in your life. You know, that one friend who you can't ever be serious around because you're both just trying to make each other laugh. That's how these two come off, and that's fine. In another interview with Pop Cult Mag, Joel expressed some real truths about the things that came together for the series, saying that he originally felt, whatever, on the concept or idea, not wanting to look into things farther than that, but after meeting Noah and hitting it off really well, he would then be interested in coming aboard the project to see what he can do to mess it up and just have some fun because, as he states, I'm not part of the Disney machine. I don't care about making this thing look anything like a Disney thing. I'd rather just have some fun, really, and make something on Disney's dime. But let's shift focus back into the show itself. Is there something here that is worth your time? Or has the pickle gone off and the peanut gone rancid? Let's talk about it.
We'll be right back to Pickle and Peanut. Now back to Pickle and Peanut.
Look, are you gonna get something incredible out of watching Pickle and Peanut? No. But I can understand from its more random nature why someone could be into it. While random equals funny type of comedy is a thing that has been talked about and debated for a long time, I truly feel that there is a point that is missed that determines if it works for the individual. So let's use the comparison here, or this being in concept, a lot like regular show in the ways we follow two slacker employees who get into some pretty random and ridiculous situations that can increasingly get more random or ridiculous as the episode goes on, while living in a world where there are humans and humanoid anthropomorphic objects, foods, etc. But where regular show might work for you and be something you consider great, while Pickle and Peanut, let's say, doesn't, well, I think that really lies in the characters themselves first and foremost. The escalating random chaos of regular show works because you feel this bond between friends, Mordecai and Rigby, where we see how their slacking off tendencies usually end up in a massive problem for them and everyone around them to deal with. Does the randomness both benefit the characters involved and keep you locked in for what could possibly happen next? At least in my opinion, yes. I am a big fan of regular show, and to be fair, there's also so much heart in that series, especially towards the end of it, that really leaves a greater impact on me, but that's besides the point. So in going back to my point, Pickle and Peanut are on the opposite side of things. Does the randomness both benefit the characters involved and keep you locked in for what could possibly happen next? In my opinion, not really. Everything that happens throughout an episode of this show seems to boil down to the fact that the random elements only serve to be random for the sake of it. It feels like it was created with the randomness in mind first, and the characters just needing to somehow be placed into it second, as opposed to something like regular show, where it feels like something only those characters could of course get into. It feels like the characters are more important and thought of first before we get to the randomness surrounding them. Pickle and Peanut feels like it tries to do that sometimes, but for the most part, it doesn't feel like it matters who would be here instead. Tomato and lemon, bacon and eggs, Larry David in a Nissan Altima, it doesn't really matter. Thus it feels like all we get left with is just pure randomness and nonsense for the heck of it, which would turn a lot of people away, or for those who are or were into it, to probably become too overwhelmed and exhausted just watching it. Where you can look at something like regular show and clearly see that there is a structure to the chaos going around, something that still holds it together while seemingly random things are happening, it doesn't feel like Pickle and Peanut has that at all. It's just a lot of stuff happening all of the time, and the characters of Pickle and Peanut are just there. I feel I am in the boat of those who feel that it's just too much too constantly, with not enough substance to make me want to keep watching. With Pickle and Peanut as characters, they don't have a hook for me to really care about them or care about the situations that they're in, or why they're in them in the first place. It feels like a lot of noise for the whole runtime rather than something to put on and find some enjoyment with. The series felt weird for Disney XD. That's not me just stating an opinion here, that's just a fact, based not only on the other shows on Disney XD at the time, but also from the people making Pickle and Peanut as well as the Disney execs themselves. Going back to that interview with Pop Cult Mag, Joel mentioned that this Pickle and Peanut thing picked up traction, which was surprising to everybody. Everybody who was watching us do this was like, this is so off-brand. This is funny, but we're pretty sure that this is fundamentally not good for Disney. We're like, good. That's what I want to see. I wanted to do a thing that made people kind of raise an eyebrow, but it was real strange because at the time, this Disney XD channel was sort of like a weirdo island, an experimental ground. We weren't sure if it was going to last as a channel, so we were like, that's perfect, that's exactly where we want to be. Additionally, in response to a question about this being a different type of show for Disney, and Disney being open to it, Joel said, I think there are a lot of ingredients to that. First of all, when I went over there, I remember XD trying to do some real boy-centric, aggressive kick-butt action kind of stuff. They had Tron at one point, which was amazing to look at, super high-end quality, but almost too serious for kids to latch onto. It was a lot to digest, so I don't think the viewership was real high on that stuff. And they were trying that out for a while, and they were like, well, we spent a lot of money and did not get a lot of eyeballs. This is just my perception, not necessarily hard fact. Just observing from the inside, I think they were like, maybe what we ought to do instead is just go for comedy. It just so happened to be while I was there that window of opportunity started to crack open. This all paints a clearer picture as to what was really going on behind the scenes at Disney when dealing with the Disney XD channel, and why it felt that so many shows like Tron Uprising, for example, amongst a sea of so many others that would take way too long to name, ended up getting the short end of the stick and had the plug pulled on them. Now for me, with this show, the one thing that does work in the series and what I ended up taking away from the show as a positive are the visuals. Pickle and Peanut looks interesting, and I mean that. I love me some good mixed animation media, and there are some really cool things that this show blends together, but in saying that, it's still not enough to make the investment into the series worth it. You'd be better off looking at clips or montages online of the best bits of animation from the series, in all honesty. But what I will say though is that in the end, the creators of the series ended up making the exact thing they wanted. A lo-fi, kind of dumb show that definitely was a different thing for the network it was on, and I respect that at least, you know? But that's just my opinion at the end of the day, so what about you? How did you feel about the series? Were you a fan of Pickle and Peanut? Also, which series by Noah Z. Jones is your personal favorite? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. Thank you to my Patreon members who help support these videos getting made. It means the world to me and I appreciate you all so much. Consider becoming a member for $5 a month to help support these videos getting made and getting access to some fun extras as well as being involved more directly in the video topics themselves. And of course, thank you all in general for watching. Before you go, make sure to leave a like on this video and to subscribe for more videos like this coming soon, but until then, I've been Jordan Fringe. Later.